So sometimes your clay might still be quite wet, and not dry enough to easily make into a ball. You can see this is way too sticky. So if you want to wait, that's okay. But if you happen to have some other clay, like for example this, which is you can see this is a lot drier. It's not bone dry, but it's still malleable but pretty dry compared to, if you compare these two, this one is super soft, can you see? Lots of moisture content. This one has less moisture content, but is still malleable. What you can do is you can try to mix in little by little this drier one with the wetter one, and you push it. Have to make it quite small and quite thin, because after we've placed all of this drier one in there, I want to mix it together so that the moisture content of the really wet one, maybe I'll just do these two. I'll put this one back on my pile over here. So this is way too wet because it's been raining today as well, so it didn't dry so much. I could have kept it under cover, but it's not really something that I have a tight deadline to work towards, so it's okay. So I'll just take these ones and then just continue to push in parts of the drier one. You could also, if you put in really dry, like a big hard piece of clay, that would be too difficult, because the point is that we want to be able to mold them, blend them together so that the moisture content equalizes a little bit more. But I think though, if you had a powder, like if you had dried clay and you'd smashed it into a powder, then that would work quite well as well. But I don't have any of that powder at the moment. Well, I do have some of that powder, but I like to use that very fine stuff when I make a glaze. But that's another step. Making a glaze is a totally different step to preparing the clay. We'll talk about that in the future. So when you've got it like that, you can just start pushing it together. Of course, when it's like this, it's not melded together enough, so it's not going to work well. But first of all, we'll just start by pushing it together. And then, hopefully, over the course of this tutorial, you will see that the reddish clay from one part of Tamaki Makaurau in the north is being mixed with this greyish clay, which has come from Waipapa, some people call Mairangi Bay. I'm not even sure if Mairangi Bay is actually really named by the Maori population that was here before the Europeans came. I have a feeling that it was named by two European lawyers who had wanted to change the name from Little Murray's Bay to something different. Anyway, so you can see that we're putting it in, but it hasn't yet molded together. When you start to mix it all together, then it's up to you to decide when you want to stop. But I would recommend that you will just stop when it feels nice to the touch, not too sticky. You can keep going until it's all mixed together into a pinkish ball, or you could stop part of the way, so you still leave traces of the red and traces of the grey, so it's streaky, stratified. But that's up to your own personal. See, like we could mix it more, but you could still leave this kind of streak, which is also very interesting. While you're doing this, you can also find little rocks and take them out. Little bits of hard, dried clay which you can squash together. So we'll just start mixing it all to these smaller balls, because I like to do it this way. You could do it all at once, but I find it's a bit of a hard task, so I like to do it in little bits first. You can roll it. It doesn't have to be a ball, it can be a sausage. Can be a patty, but it's still a bit sticky, so I throw it on there. Keep going. Keep it going. Mix it with the sausage. Make a poo stick. Microphone.
No.
That's when I was young. People used to make poo sticks like that. Anyway, so let us continue with this procedure. If at this stage you find it still too sticky, you could go over to your selection of drier clays, and you could get a little bit more if you felt like it and add it in. I don't think it's really that necessary in this case, but may as well for good luck. Mix it together. Pretty much, if you are like a bread maker or have experience with bread, making bread, then you'll know that you can knead the clay like making bread, but I don't really have that experience, so I just developed a way I like to do it myself. Key thing is it all blends together, and that when you're banging it helps to get out the air pockets inside the clay, which, as I told you in my last tutorial, can be the cause of an explosion. I like to do it this way, just pushing, molding. You can see it's coming together, still not molded into one colour, but I like this kind of feeling of it having the streaks through. And I know that when we fire it, we'll have that quality. You can still remember the different parts of the landscape or the territory that you gained your clay from. It's always good to have an animal companion that is other than human, because they will also teach you things about the pleasures of the environment which you're in. So,
Nanny.
I'm just moving around, so I'm checking that my camera person is actually following my ball, not slacking off.
Shout out.
But it's true, you need to always pay attention to the job at hand. You can see here that it's become less sticky, become quite a nice ball. But I'll just cut it down the middle just to see what it's like, because it looks like it's all kind of one colour now, but I think I'll just give it a one thing. One thing that you have to be careful with when working with clay and cameras is that the clay, you can get excited and the clay can touch the lens sometimes. Probably wipe it with your hand, with a piece of your t-shirt would be good. I know you can get excited about it and you want to get close to the situation.
Oh.
So let's cut it and see what it looks like down the middle. Just use a piece of fishing line or whatever you find. People seem to like, so you can see it's not totally mixed together, but that's okay as long as you feel like the moisture content is okay. You can see these black bits here. These ones, they might be rocks or they just might be bits of clay. So let's just push it and see what happens. Feels like a little rock. You could leave it in for excitement. Oh no, maybe not rock, just really hard dirt or clay. You could just mix it in. Or you could leave it, and then when you're making something in the future you could decide what to do. Anyway, so I'll just make this into two balls. and we can put them away, and that will be the experiment, the end of the lesson for today. And just remember, when you're storing them, put them in something that won't let the air in, so they'll dry out. So that could be a plastic box, container, some plastic bags you found floating in the sea, whatever you like. Okay, thank you very much for watching my video, and please subscribe. Yeah.